Well, welcome everybody to the Hunting Life podcast. This is your host, Dennis Gantz, and thanks for joining me again. It's been about a week or so since we posted a podcast and we were able to come talk to you. We've been busy with turkey season, and I'm not sure who the turkeys are. I think it's more us than the actual turkeys because they've been having the upper hand on us quite a bit. It has been a long turkey season, to say the least. I've had an opportunity. We didn't get it done in the opening week, and it's been pretty much nothing for us since then. It's been really, really tough hunting. Not a lot of gobbling. The birds have been tight-lipped. They've not been vocal at all, and if they are vocal, it's been more so right in the morning off the roost. They get down, they might gobble a little bit, and then that's it. Nothing more from there. So, but welcome. Glad you're here with me. I hope you're enjoying the Hunting Life podcast. This is only episode 3, but we hope that you continue to follow along. And, we're going to be bringing guests on as we get further into this. Right now, with everything going on with the coronavirus pandemic, we've been busy, obviously, with our work. I work in healthcare, EMS. So that has had us busy, to say the least. But we've been getting out and social distancing with the turkeys, and the turkeys have been doing a great job with the social distancing part of it. So I thought we'd today talk just a little bit. If you've been following our YouTube platform, and if you're watching our podcast on our YouTube platform or listening to it right here on Anchor, as well as the many other platforms that our podcast is available on, that you have been seeing on the YouTube channel. Recently posted a series where I went to New York. Did not get there last year. Was excited to get up to New York this year hunting, and I thought I'd talk about that and how it went, what my thoughts were of the trip, and the highs, the lows, the things that I take away from it, and am I going to go back? So let's dive right into it. So we went to New York last weekend. So that would have been May. Let's see. I left. Well, today is May 23rd, and I was there last weekend. So that was 7 days ago. So 16th, 15, 14, 13. So I left on the 13th. It was a Wednesday afternoon. I got out of work, and it was about a 3-hour drive to our camp up in New York, and got up there probably around 6:30, something to 7. Was able to get unpacked and then head on out and try and roost some birds for the first morning's hunt on that Thursday. The weather was going to be cold. Still wasn't good spring turkey weather. It's been really unseasonable, to say the least. We had snow in New York. The day before I got there, there was a whiteout condition. It's been below freezing here in Pennsylvania. So it's just not been a spring season. The birds were gobbling in April and March, and then once we hit our season here, they pretty much have been silent. So we got up to New York. We got out that evening. I did not hear any birds. My friend Lewis was up there at camp, and we were social distancing. And he was staying at a friend of ours' cabin. And he did hear birds in an area, but they were on private properties. Not a good thing for us because we didn't have permission to hunt on that private property, but we did have the ability to hunt on public, which was right above it. So the task at hand was to try and call these birds up on the public from private. And it has been done, but we were going to give it a go and see how it worked out. So I got up there. The first day we got in, Lewis came with me. We took separate trucks, and which is hard to do because there's not a lot of parking in that general area where we were at. So you're pulling over. It's really muddy. You're hoping you don't get stuck. And we stood by the trucks. We parked probably about several hundred yards away from where we planned on going in, and we wanted to listen until the birds gobbled to kind of make our way in there. And I think that's where we screwed up. We should have just walked down, got into the woods and sat and listened in the dark at the base of the tree, but instead we didn't. We opted not to do that. The birds started to gobble, and there were several, some jakes, some gongbeards, and we then started walking out as it was breaking daylight. And as it broke daylight, the woods were wide open. You could tell that it's just been a really cold spring. This time of year, we should have had a lot more foliage on the trees to kind of hide us and give us an opportunity to move around. And they were just completely wide open. But we got in there, and the birds were gobbling. We probably had about 2 jakes down below us, about 200 yards, a couple longbeards over to our right, and just they answer a little. Lewis wanted to do the calling, so he set up about 50 yards behind me, and we were doing our best. But they flew down, and when they flew down, they got quiet, and down below where they were roosted, obviously they were roosted on the private, there were more fields, and they were working to those fields. So we decided, it was probably about 6:45, and we got up out of there and we headed back to the trucks. The birds weren't answering us anymore, and it was time to go seeking some other birds and see what we can do. So we drove around. Lewis, we went over to a spot where he had killed his bird, and we walked to his beautiful area. A lot of deer sign, definitely a lot of deer sign, and that was one thing I found a lot of on this trip, was plenty of sign for deer season coming this fall. So I'm excited to get back up there for archery and hit a lot of these spots where I saw all this deer sign, because there wasn't a lot of turkey sign. I will tell you that right now. I was really, shocked at the fact that there wasn't a lot of turkey sign. Scratching was minimal, and then when you did find the scratching, it wasn't like a hardcore scratching that I'm used to seeing. It was just very light. The birds really weren't doing much of that, and I don't know if that had to do with the cold weather or what the case may be, but it was very, and we, minimal tracks, minimal droppings. We just had a hard time finding the turkey sign and the turkeys, let alone for that, on public. So we went to a couple different spots. We could never strike another gobble up. It was cold that morning. That first morning, it was like 31 or 30 degrees. Might have been 29 at the cabin. So it was really cold morning. Felt more like deer season than it did turkey season. So we drove around, and we went to another spot that I never hunted, but Lewis had hunted. He'd seen some birds, and so we got out to give some calls. And as we were getting ready to give a call, he spotted a hen turkey down below us, and she started a morning putt. So we just snuck out of there and let her go. It wasn't a really big patch, big private field next to it. No birds out in the field, so she was probably just either coming up this little access path or whatever the case may be. So we split up from there, and he wanted to go look around some other spots to try to see if he could find birds, and we communicated as best we could. And I went, and I probably put some miles on. It got warmer, but I put some miles on the truck and underneath the boots, and I could never strike up a gobble. Hunted right till the 11 o'clock hour. I did see a hen in the last spot that I set up on, and there might have been 1 or 2 other birds. I caught them moving on this side ridge, so I backed out the way I came and got in. There's a bunch of scrub oaks out into this field, and set up there, and I saw the hen going down. So they never came in. So first day was a bust. Ended up being a beautiful day. Hung out at camp. It was great to be up at camp. We've been doing a lot of improvements to our cabin up there, which is a lot of fun. We go up there with our families a lot. If you enjoy camping or just getting out into the woods, this is something that we go up with our families. It's a lot of fun. I set up. We've got a lot of good opportunities. We've got TV. It's not exactly roughing it like you're used to, but we do take our wives and our children up there, so we've got to make it as accommodating as we can for them. And then obviously it's a benefit for us when it comes to deer season or turkey season or any kind of hunting season for that matter. So I set up, made some breakfast, coffee, pulled out the computer, started doing some editing and whatnot, getting videos produced from the day, and planning what to do for the evening. Went out, did some more roosting for the next morning, and the birds were all down in those private fields where we had heard them this morning. That morning. So the plan was the next morning we were going to separate. Lewis was going to go on his own, and I was going to go on my own. I was heading back to that spot. So I got there second day, got back to that same parking spot, parked, and then this time I walked in the dark. I was seated at the base of my tree by 4:30, and that was perfect. Waited for about an hour. It was about 5:30 when I heard the first gobble, and they were right down in front of me like they were the morning before, and had a lot of fun listening to them. They were answering me. Gobblers off to my right, and we went back and forth for a little while. We had some fun. The birds were a little vocal, but I wouldn't say they were really hot. That I was confident that maybe they were going to come in. So, I just kept working at it. Got a little bit more aggressive than we did the day before because we both felt that maybe we should have gotten a little bit more aggressive with the birds as far as the calling was concerned. So I stayed on them a little bit more, and they flew down. They gobbled for a little bit, and then after that, they pretty much shut up. But I decided I wasn't moving. I was going to sit tight. And see what happens, because I felt the day before we left too early, and we should have hung out a little bit more and given these birds a little bit of a chance to see what they were going to do, because they may have been with hens. Maybe we could have enticed them to come across. So I sat for a little while, and hadn't heard a gobble, called soft here and there, but nothing. So it was probably about 7:15, maybe 7:30, probably about closer to 7:30. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. So I said, I'm going to get up and I'm going to move down the road a little bit more, because the birds had always seemed like they were going to the right, away from us. So I wanted to move down the road a little bit more, see if I can't strike them up, and then hop up in the woods, maybe about half the distance between where I was parked and where I was first set up. So I stood up, and obviously Mother Nature called. So I had to pay attention to that first and empty my bladder. So as I was doing that, a bird gobbled down below me, both of them, 2 jakes. And so I sat back down, and I'm going to be honest with you folks. When I'm out turkey hunting, I don't hunt turkeys for the fact that how long the beard is, or obviously how long the spurs are, or whatever the case may be. And obviously, if I have the ability to shoot a long beard and a bird with big spurs, that's great. It's just like buck hunting for me. Okay. I can't eat the antlers, I can't eat the spurs, and I can't eat the beard. I enjoy wild turkey, and I'm there to hunt for food for my family. Some of you may disagree with me on that, and that's okay. I'm going to shoot a jake if a jake gives me the opportunity to do so, because I'm going to be honest, the turkey population is not that great. And we're going to talk about that very shortly here, but it is not that great. At least in Pennsylvania where I'm hunting, and in New York where I'm hunting there, the populations are not good. And I truly believe that. And recently, within the last couple of years, as far as that's concerned. So I sat back down. I called for a little bit longer. The birds were gobbling back and forth, and seemed like they were maybe coming. And then all of a sudden, they started working out to the right, like I thought. And I heard a dog bark, and they gobbled at the dog. And the dog barked again. They gobbled at the dog. And I'm sitting there going, man, these turkeys they're shock gobbling at this dog. And I couldn't figure out why. And the more it did it, I kept thinking in the back of my mind, so I wonder if those are coyotes. And if it is, they're going to ruin my hunt. And these birds shut up. I could still hear the dog barking. So I decided to get up and walk back down the road closer to the truck like I wanted to. And as I was walking, there's like a little hollow that goes down and then comes back up. And then I got about another 150 yards to my truck. And in that hollow, there is a creek. And that's where these birds kind of seemed like they'd filter to. They'd follow that hollow down, and that went right down to the private fields. And that's where I heard the barking and the shock gobbling of these birds. And as I was walking past that, I looked onto the private, which was to my left, and there was a coyote about 40 yards below me, just sneaking through. So I knelt down really quick, gave a few yelps on the diaphragm call, and then I popped up over this dirt mound, and that coyote made on a dime turn and started coming right at me. And I thought we were going to have a really close encounter of him popping up over that dirt mound, which would have only been about 8 yards away from me. But he circled down like a coyote usually will do and got about 20 yards below me, came out and saw me kneeling in the middle of the dirt road there and took off. But really cool encounter. But that Wile E. coyote, he ruined my turkey hunt that morning. And those birds went down on the private, and they were all down there, and they stayed there all day. So I pretty much, went hopping around, put a lot of miles underneath my feet, walked probably about 6 miles that day in different areas, just searching for turkey, searching for signs, searching for a gobble. Nothing. It got warm that morning, and hunted right till noon, which was the latest you could hunt in New York, and called it a day. So I was getting discouraged. I'm not going to lie. 2 days looking forward to it since, all winter and early part of spring. I was really excited, looking forward to getting up to New York and doing some turkey hunting. And I had 2 more days to go, but, the confidence was already starting to sink. And, now you're reaching deep. You're tired, you're up early, and you're wondering, are you really going to even get an opportunity at a turkey? So the next morning I went back into the same location, parked in the same spot, and set up right across from where I saw that coyote, which was about 200 yards closer to the truck, and went up in the woods there and sat down. Got there again right and early, 4:30 in the morning, well before daylight. It was not as warm as I had thought. We had a bad storm come through the night before with some heavy rains and wind and a little bit of lightning and thunder, and it kind of cooled off some. And I thought it was going to be a lot warmer that morning, but it actually wasn't. It seemed like the morning before was warmer. And I sat at the base of my tree and wondered if we were even going to hear a turkey, because it was almost 5:30. I still hadn't heard anything. And all of a sudden I heard a gobble. And it was down kind of where I was seated the last 2 mornings, and I couldn't tell if it was on public or private, but it was higher up, so I knew it was closer to the public. So it gobbled again, and it really sounded like it might have been on public. And when he gobbled the 3rd time, I knew where this bird exactly was. He was on public, and he was about 70 yards above where I was seated the last 2 mornings. So I was kind of dejected, but in the same sense, I was a little bit relieved that I chose to sit where I did, because if I would have gone down and walked into where I was seated and just changed it up just a little bit in that same general area, I may have spooked this bird right off the roost and never would have had a chance at him. So sat up, called for a little while. He started gobbling, had him going. I decided I needed to move and face that direction, just get a little bit closer to try to close the distance on him. So I did. I got 50 yards closer. He gobbled a little bit more. He flew down off the roost. He gobbled, answered me once or twice, and he went silent. Nothing. Didn't hear not another bird. None of those other birds that were gobbling the rest of the morning were down in there, and it was very dejecting. And I sat there till about 8 o'clock. Hunted it probably actually till about 8:30, and just never got that bird to come in, never got that bird to answer me again, couldn't figure it out, was really getting frustrated, decided that, I picked up, went to another spot, sat at that spot for an hour, soft called, nothing. Went to another spot, sat for an hour, soft called, nothing. Then I just went exploring, started walking, and I hunted right till noon. And I was really upset. I was really, really frustrated. I love to hunt. I love to be outdoors. I love hunting turkey. But it's really hard to hunt and chase turkeys when you don't know where they are. You don't hear them. They're not even giving you that courtesy gobble. And, you're by yourself. And so it just seems like it's a lot of loneliness. And it may sound weird, but, so I don't mind that quiet time, because sometimes you need it, especially today. It was much needed getaway, and I really enjoyed, being up at camp and just getting a little bit of a break from all this craziness in the world right now with the pandemic, but it was lonely, and it was hard to get myself motivated, to really continue to push. And I came back to camp, talked to my wife, and I told her, I said, I just, I don't know if I have it in me to go hunting tomorrow morning. I had one more chance. It was Sunday morning. You can hunt Sundays in New York. And I was only going to hunt till about 9 o'clock, just simply because these birds gobble on the roost. They fly down. They may give you a gobble or two, and then they hadn't been gobbling after that. So I was debating, going back and forth. Do I want to get up at 3:30 in the morning again to go sit, to maybe hear a gobble or two off the roost and these birds not come in, and then be tired for a ride home? That morning I didn't know. So I went back, I made some breakfast, had some coffee, transferred some video, got a shower, cleaned up, and, weighed my options. And then I decided, you know what, uh, you know, uh, I needed to go home, and that's what I did. I packed everything up, cleaned up the camp, and loaded the truck and headed back home, and called it for the New York trip. A disappointing trip as far as the hunting was concerned. Definitely a rewarding trip to be up there and just enjoying some serenity. But it was hard. It was not easy hunting. And one of the things with hunting, I know you're never guaranteed to kill an animal, and we set out to kill an animal because we want to get food for the table. But it's really tough when you don't even hear or see any animals. I mean, I saw some on private, and okay, big deal. We don't have permission to hunt those privates, so you see them. It's ooh ah, and there they are, but they're not where you can hunt. So you get that frustrates you even more, I guess, is what you could say. But all that being said, it was a learning experience. There were a lot of areas I probably would not hunt turkey again. Used onX a lot to kind of help me figure out the spots and see what the terrain looked like, and checked it out, and you mark them off, and go back to them. But yeah, so I said earlier about turkey populations and how they're low. I mean, I came back home. We've been hunting hard here, my brother and I, and we're just not hearing birds at all. We're not seeing birds in fields that we normally in years past would see birds strutting in the fields, and it give you an inkling of hope to maybe be able to go after and chase these birds and have a chance to call them in. But we're not seeing that. We're not seeing the turkeys, and I don't know what the case may be. I mean, the other thing we noticed was a lot of these turkey are staying grouped up in large groups, New York and in Pennsylvania, and they shouldn't be like that right now. Being the spring, it's mating season. Birds are chasing. They're looking for hens. They're moving around. But I mean, just the other day, my cousin on his farm saw 30 turkey in a field. It's the end of May. Okay, third week of May, or whatever the case may be. There should not be 30 turkey in a field together. That's something you see in the fall or in the winter. Now hens should be going their way for nesting. Gobblers are, moving around looking for hens to breed. And I don't get it. It's I don't know. If you are experiencing anything like this, leave us a comment. Whether you're watching this on our YouTube platform or listening to it here on Anchor, leave a comment. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are on turkey, and how the population is right now. I know National Wild Turkey Federation advocate for the wild turkey and trying to increase the populations. I know our game commission here in Pennsylvania, and the DCNR up in New York, they're working hard to try to increase habitats. But I just feel as though that where I'm hunting and my brother and I are hunting, the turkey populations are really in trouble. And that's a scary thing. And I don't know what we're to do. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how my hunt went. If you haven't watched it on the YouTube channel, please go head over and check out New York episodes 1, 2, and 3. Tell me what you think of them. Leave us a comment and a like on our YouTube videos, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We appreciate your support there. And subscribe and follow me here on Anchor and all the other platforms that you can catch hashtag the Hunt and Life podcast on. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I just wanted to kind of recap my New York turkey hunting trip for 2020. It definitely didn't end how I had hoped it was going to end. I had high expectations going into it and came out of it, I'd say, a little disappointed. But will I be back up in New York hunting again? Yes, I will be back up there and chasing something at some point, definitely this fall for deer. And hopefully the turkey continue to improve up there. I just, I don't know. We've got about a week left here in Pennsylvania. We were out this morning, and we, again, another dismal morning. No birds gobbling off the roost for us here. And we had one bird gobble on another property that we were hunting adjacent to, trying to call that bird in, and he got spooked with some folks that were doing some work with equipment. So again, just tough hunting, and we'll see how we do. But hey, it's hashtag the hunting life. We don't always talk about hunting, but it is hunting season right now, and that's what I want to talk about and share with you, my thoughts on my hunting trips and where I've been going, especially right now with the New York trip that we just finished up and the video series that we shared on our YouTube platform. So thanks again for watching us here on hashtag the hunting life and listening to us. And please make sure you follow and subscribe. And until next time, guys, get outdoors, pursue your passions and your dreams. And, you're going to have setbacks. Just keep pushing. It'll happen eventually. It may not be this year, but it will happen. So thanks again. I'm Dennis Gans, your host, and this was hashtag the Hunt and Life podcast.